right, what's up everybody? We'll go ahead and get started here in just a moment. It's a pretty rainy day today in New York. It's going to be on and off showers pretty much all night. So we do have the umbrella. But as always, if you guys can hear us and if we're streaming in 1080p, just give a thumbs up in the chat. We'll get started. Crazy travel day too. Numerous plane delays. Lots of wild stuff. So we'll get started here in a moment. I think we can go ahead and get started. So good evening everybody and welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. Today is August 3rd. It is Saturday 2024. It's roughly 9:30 p.m. Eastern time and we are currently standing right outside of the GM building, the General Motors building. Across the street we have the beautiful Plaza Hotel. Now, if you notice all the construction going on right outside of the plaza, that is going to be a brand new Grand Army Plaza. This has kind of fallen into disrepair over the years, which is kind of surprising because this is some of the pretty priciest rent district in Manhattan, right? Particularly if you're talking about the hotels. Plaza Hotel, you have Amman, New York right here. Behind this, you have the Sherry Netherland Hotel. So it's good that we're going to get a brand new Grand Army Plaza. Should be opening, I think, at the end of the winter season. Now, obviously, last week was a very, very volatile week on Wall Street. We've gone through pretty much the brunt of earnings season. We've heard from all of the major Wall Street mega banks and the boutique investment banks. We heard from the lion's share of mega cap tech stocks, including Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Netflix, and the like. Also Tesla, we talked about that. And we also had the FOMC meeting last week. Now, just as a quick recap, the FOMC meeting stands for the Federal Open Market Committee meeting, when the Federal Reserve Chairman himself, just so happens to be Jerome Powell, at the conclusion of a 2-day meeting, will address the nation on a go-forward in terms of monetary policy. If they're going to take any action on interest rates, and also the second component, which is the Fed's balance sheet. So oftentimes for quantitative tightening, what they'll do is they'll raise interest rates and they'll let mortgage-backed securities, US Treasuries, the size of that balance sheet shrink, tighten. Now, if they want to stimulate the economy, oftentimes they will reduce interest rates and expand the size of the balance sheet by buying US Treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. Because, as we all know, the bond market, there's an inverse correlation. When bond prices are getting bid up, yields come down. And that's exactly what we saw this week. Massive action in the debt market. If you look at the US 10-year bond, the US 30-year bond, massive buying. So prices of bonds went skyrocketing and yields cratered across the curve. The US 10-year Treasury fell below 4% for the first time since the beginning of the year. And what this may be signaling to the market, or what the market may be signaling to everyone else, including the Federal Reserve, is that the Fed may have overcooked it and they should have started to ease a long time ago. Now, if you go ahead and check your email, I sent out our bi-weekly investor letter. If you scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, it'll take you to our Substack called the Behind the Street Newsletter. Now, I wrote an article. I tried to keep it as short and concise as possible, but I'm seeing a few similarities between December of 2018 and August, well, end of July, August of 2024, as it relates to the reaction of the bond market after the Fed's precedent on monetary policy. So with all the talk about, equities getting hammered, which they did in a major way, I think where we should be focused on is the debt market, because right now the bond market is telling us that the Fed potentially overcooked it, which the Fed tends to do this, right? They tend to leave monetary policy loose for way longer than they should, and then they tend to tighten for longer than they should. Again, not my personal opinion on monetary policy, but this is what the bond market is showing us. Massive amounts of cash running into bonds. If you look at TLT, that had one of its best weeks in 2 years last week. And I think we're going to have a little bit of mispricing or a little bit of a repricing here for equities and the like, which should set us up nicely for Q4 after the presidential elections. Last but not least, everybody, I know it's Saturday. We're not supposed to be talking about the markets, but I was sick the past 2 days, so we really didn't get to do a deep dive that I wanted to do. So I'm just going to leave you off with one more thing here, and then we'll go get started and we'll check out the city. Now, on the first business day of every single month, we hear from the Institute for Supply Management as they release their PMI numbers, or specifically their manufacturing PMI. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in the chat, but it's going to take you to the July 2024 manufacturing PMI report on business. This is such a critical report. We always go through it, again, the first business day of the month, we get the manufacturing PMIs. But what I want everyone to focus on is the following. Number one, it's the trajectories of the PMIs that matter. But number two, it's really what the respondents are saying. And I posted something on X. If you're not following me on X, you can follow @WalksWallStreet. And I posted this excerpt here. Now, essentially what the respondents are saying section, essentially what it means, is this is a survey, right? It's a business survey. It goes out to the top manufacturing executives in the country, and they ask for a forward-looking statement. What are they seeing? Are they seeing orders contracting? Are they seeing inventories? Like what's the outlook on demand in the manufacturing sector? And I want you to go ahead and count the amount of times they use the term or the word slowing in that report. So let me go ahead and put that in the chat, and let's go ahead and get started. But hopefully everyone's having a good start to the weekend. Okay, so if you look for my name highlighted in the chat, it should be highlighted in orange or yellow. You can click the link that says https ismworld.org. That'll take you to the most recent ISM PMI number. And as always, if you want our market thoughts sent directly to your email every other Thursday, right as the market closes, just scan the QR code, punch in your email, and you'll be all set. Let's go ahead and get started. I see GG NYC. Thanks for joining us. KML says good evening. Where are we walking to tonight? Maybe if we have time, we'll go to the Hudson Yards. Alan, thanks so much for joining us. I see D's here. Austin City Limits, Scott Solomon, cheers. Peter. Welcome, welcome. Solo 401. I see Gary Carpenter, Mike G. Alan says, glad you're feeling better. Pretty much 100%. I'd say it's just my voice is still a little iffy. But every time I get sick, it's always like that. I don't know why. I always have issues with my voice, like maybe about a week after I get sick. Who knows? We're looking at this beautiful view of 432 Park Avenue here. But what I'm really excited about is this. This building finally has its lights on. That is the Four Seasons Hotel on Billionaires Row, and that's been closed since the pandemic. You can believe that. It's been almost 4 years that it's been closed, and it's reopening. So you can be able to stay at the Four Seasons here on 57th Street once again. You won't have to go all the way down to Lower Manhattan and stay. Here's a good shot of Billionaires Row. Hey, Doc 7 is here. What's up? DC322. Cheers. Lance, Chris B's. This is where to tonight. I think we're probably going to navigate our way to the Hudson Yards. Two Real Freedoms says Andrew left. Always seems shady, bashing meme stocks. I don't know who Andrew left is. Hey, Peter says, I remember eating lunch at the Four Seasons in 2013. Very nice. I really like the Crown building. This is also doubles as the Amman New York Hotel. I know Doc 7 says it's a Steve Ross kind of night. Yep, they really did a good job with Hudson Yards, and they're also making a pretty big bet in South Florida too. Troy Atmans is the guy going to jail for manipulating the market on Twitter. That Andrew left. Wow, I've never heard of him. Let me Google him right now. Well, if it has anything to do with meme stocks, I probably don't know much about it, because I always mute those tickers, like GameStop, AMC. Andrew left. Oh, that's that, I know him. Yeah. This is Citron Research. Yeah, he's, he used to run a major short selling firm. So his hedge fund would specifically target companies for shorting. So what happened with him? I really don't know the details. Let me know. I think we may have issues with the internet tonight. Usually when, what's it called? You have heavy rains in New York. The internet's really bad, honestly. We're walking right outside of the Trump Tower now. Two Real Freedoms says he did the old pump and dump, saying one thing and doing the other. Wow, that's wild. Well, I'm not really super surprised, but here's what I am surprised about a little bit. If you look at and we've talked about this before, the broader general market, right? Talking about like the S&P 500, 70% of the time, right? The market is going up. That's just a fact. 70% of the time, we are in a bull market. The remainder of the time, you're either in bear market or correction or chop sideways market. So statistically, right, if you're only focused on short ideas, you're fighting the general market 70% of the time. which is really, really difficult. And very, very time consuming and laborious. Not to say that, well, how should I put this? There's some people that'll take it to the extreme and say that short selling should be banned. I actually don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. You need some sort of balance in the market to keep some of these companies in check, right? Because there are some activist short sellers that do a lot of really good work. And they do deep research on companies. They present it to the SEC or regulatory agencies, regulatory bodies. And they put a stop to a lot of the nefarious business practices. I think the most famous kind of, I should say, media known activist short sales, which turned out to be kind of a debacle and pretty hilarious too, was when Pershing Square, which is Bill Ackman's hedge fund, wrote that short thesis on Herbalife, which was a pretty compelling short thesis, but Carl Icahn apparently had a major long position in the company. Now, if you actually read his short thesis on Herbalife, what they were alleging is that the structure of the company, Herbalife, was a MLM style pyramid like scheme, where you have, let's say, the top 2% of the company making all the profits at the expense of everyone else. And what the short thesis also alleged is that it was very, very predatory on people from low socioeconomic status and minorities. That's what the short thesis alleged. And then it turned into a big fight, a big thing on CNBC. So I wouldn't go as extreme to say I'm against shorting, but because it is, I think it's important to have analysts out there that are essentially doing independent audits on these companies. But if you're an analyst and you're covering a stock, you're essentially doing an independent audit on the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, making sure that what management is putting out, they're living up to those expectations. And if they're not, well, it's a problem. Then there's accountability. All right, let's cut over to 6th Avenue. Hey, Sabrina, what's up? Cape Cod Sour. Harry Connor, cheers to you. It's very, very humid out today in New York. Crazy humid. Papa Smurf OG. Good to see you. Troy Atmans' maximum penalty of 25 years in prison on the securities fraud scheme count. 20 years in prison for each securities fraud count. Wow. So did they say like what specifically he was doing? So what? He was talking negatively about specific stocks. He was a big, well, his firm was a really, really big predator on Tesla, which I think a lot of his research on Tesla was ill-founded, but that's a story for another day. But I guess in conclusion, it's like there's so many great companies, and we are living through a major technological renaissance here. And there's companies that are producing massive amounts of free cash, making so much money hand over fist, and you're gonna spend all of your time trying to, meddle with penny stocks and run pump and dump schemes. It just doesn't seem like a very good use of time, to be honest. All right, let me read up on some more of the comments. SBK Pilot says, I doubt this is the top for the market. There isn't enough euphoria, which is typical of market tops. All I hear is people expecting a crash. Yeah, I think a lot of the rhetoric, but that's kind of how the market works, to your point, right, SBK? Whenever you have a little wiggle or jiggle or a big sell-off in the market, people freak, right? And you kind of have two camps. You have people coming out of the woodwork saying, I told you so, This was the big one. I told everyone that this is the end of America. It's all coming down. We warned you for years and years. You have those camp. And those people that are saying that, okay, I've been doing this a long time, 100% of those people have zero risk in the game. Zero. They don't manage any money. They don't have any money. And I'm not trying to be mean, but 100% of those people, they don't have any skin in the game. And number two, it's just the panickers that, you know, will just read a narrative. Markets go up and markets go down. This has been the longest duration, not only for the S&P, but for the VIX, without a substantial pullback. And if you look at the data, right, and I gave you guys the data in the newsletter, if you look at historical S&P 500 market returns during election years, okay, Q1 and Q2 are almost always the best performing quarters. And if you look at the data, Q1 and Q2 of this year was one of the strongest starts to the year in market history. In the history of the market, Q1 and Q2 brought some of the strongest returns. Q3 is usually tapered returns to negative returns, which kind of makes sense, right? Q3, you're leading right up into the election day, where there's a lot of uncertainty, particularly this year. I mean, we kind of covered that. This year is crazy uncertainty in the market, with an assassination attempt on the former president, with the current president announcing that he is no longer going to run for president. So there's a lot of worry. And we've had a massive run-up. You know, I mean, look at all the major tech companies. You know, Apple grew to a $3 trillion valuation. Trillion-dollar tech companies. So the market gives back. People take profits, and the market gives back. This place is the Thompson Hotel, but this is also 111. So a lot of people get this particular building confused with Steinway Tower, since the address is 111. There's two 111s. It's this 111, which is at Thompson Park Hotel, and then you have the Steinway Tower, which is 111, West 57th Street. These are pretty interesting residences too. It shares a lobby with the Thompson Hotel. The higher floors obviously have pretty good views of Central Park, but there are surprisingly a lot of people that confuse it with Steinway Tower or 111 West 57th Street. Hey, the LT Prod. Good to see you. SM. Do you think the market will taper off in September and stay flat for this year? Go ahead and check your email, or if you scan the QR code on your screen, that'll take you to our Substack. I publish a little over 1,200 to 1,500 word research piece every other Thursday, which essentially marks out our narrative. And I just sent it out. So check your emails, folks. Now, here's another thing. Who here has seen this headline over the weekend? Let me and be honest, because maybe you haven't. Anyone in the audience or in the chat seen this headline that says Berkshire Hathaway sells about 60% of its stake in Apple, right? And everyone is freaking out, saying run for the hills. Anyone seen that? Now, Is that real news or is that fake news? This is a tricky one, but I'll explain why. The statement is correct, but on a contextual basis, with the narrative spin, it's fake news, and I'll explain. Now, it is true that Berkshire Hathaway has sold about 60% of the stake in Apple, right? Some people said that they've seen it. Okay, so some of you have seen it. Well, does anyone know at what valuation Berkshire acquired the majority of their stake in Apple? I believe it was around like a $350 billion to $400 billion valuation. So when you've made an investment in a company at a $350 billion or $400 billion market cap, and you hold that investment to a near $3 trillion valuation, that's an unbelievable trade. So think about the size, right? And we talk about this when we do a deep dive in like portfolio management. If Berkshire acquired a huge stake in Apple at a $400 million market cap and rode the thing to a $3 trillion market cap, that makes up a huge portion of the portfolio. So number one, definitely very, very wise to lock in gains there and raise cash when valuations are pretty much top tick for the intermediate term of the cycle, right? So that's the context. Now, if Apple probably, let's say if, we'll just use a number that we could all work with. Let's say if we go through a correction, the S&P declines, let's say 15%. I'm not saying this will happen, but we're just doing an example. And Apple falls 35%, which is in the norm of the corrections of these big mega cap tech stocks when we go through a market correction. Assuming that Apple continues to grow, produce revenue, or I should say grow revenue, produce net income, massive amounts of it, you don't think that the world's greatest investors like Buffett will say, okay, this is a more attractive valuation now, let's go ahead and redeploy our capital? That's how the market works. So I think that's probably one of the trades of a lifetime of Berkshire, sizing into Apple at a $400 billion valuation and selling off 60% of their holdings at a $3 trillion valuation. That's ridiculous. That's an unbelievable trade. All right, here we are at Carnegie Hall. I'm really praying that the scaffolding comes down on Carnegie because it's such a beautiful building, it really, really is. But the scaffolding has been all over it for so long, and I'm excited to see without it. Hey, Patient Lobster says, hello Tom, greetings from Israel. Hopefully you're safe and doing all right. I've been reading a lot of crazy things going on in the Middle East, so hopefully you're okay. This place is pretty good. This place is called PJ Carney's. So if anyone's in the neighborhood, PJ Carney's right on the corner of 57th Street. It's actually adjacent Alwyn Court. It's a cool place to kind of get a drink. It's like an Irish pub. And they also have really good cheeseburgers. Probably some of the best I've ever had, honestly, right in there. All right, let's start to head downtown. We'll make a little bit of a U-turn. Hey, New England Crypto, what's up? is the internet tonight, everyone? I think the internet's a little spotty. It's been good? Okay, that's good. Here you see Steinway 157 and Alwyn Court. Who here is in South Florida right now? Because South Florida is supposed to get really, really hammered with rain. So much so, I actually got, and this is not usual, I got an email from the town or the city that I live in, giving directions on, and times, like depending on like your lot and block, which time you can come and get sandbags and things like that, which is wild because we're not expecting a tornado, we're not expecting a hurricane, excuse me. It's just going to be a ton of rain. Gene Paul. So what's going on? Is it really as bad as they're making it out to seem, or what's up? If you can give us an update. Lee says light rain in Broward. So when are we supposed to get the big 12 inches of rain that's supposed to flood out all of Miami-Dade? I think that's going to be this weekend or later this weekend. Doc 7 says Berkshire Hathaway doesn't keep cash. They buy short-term T-bills. And you know what's crazy? I believe right now Berkshire Hathaway owns more U.S. Treasuries than the Federal Reserve. I think that's correct right now after that massive sale. You may have to fact check that, but I think that's true. Which, can you imagine that? Oh my God, that's insane. This is 220 Central Park South. Beautiful American flags here. Hey, Julia M, what's up? Good to see you, Julia. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. We're just checking out Central Park South. This is 220. This is where Ken Griffin has his place. Yeah, Doc 7 Bernado's earnings are on Monday. That's true. Now with this massive move in the bond market last week, rates should be coming down for mortgages, right? There's a very, very high correlation. This is Maria. This is a really, really nice place. There's a high correlation between the 10-year Treasury, or the 10-year yield, and 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. And there's been a massive bond market rally, so maybe that'll at least get things moving in terms of transaction volume again. Additionally, one thing that I don't think enough people, including myself, are really hammering on or talking about is the shape of the Chinese economy right now is worse than it was in 2020 during the depths of the COVID crisis. And that's kind of why you're starting to see China ease up monetary policy, which, China is usually a big culprit of manipulating their currency, but they have a really tough choice. They have a really tough decision now. They either let the real estate market crash and crater their economy, or they let their currency suffer a little bit, ease monetary restrictions, and try to keep a lid on some of the damages. Now, there's also two ways you could think about this, because it should be positive. It should be a net positive for global liquidity with China easing. If you look at global fund flows, you've been seeing a lot of capital flight out of China. And if you could see capital flight out of China, I mean, imagine how much more capital flight there would be if it wasn't for the CCP, right? Because if you do something that the CCP doesn't like, well, it's not going to be too good. You're also, surprisingly, even though I'm very bullish on India, you're seeing capital flight out of India. And the main beneficiaries of this capital flight are the US, Singapore, and surprisingly, Argentina. I would even go more broadly and say North America. But if this slowdown in China really continues, I think that with the size of the Chinese economy now, you could potentially put that same saying, right? And the saying is, when the United States sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. It may be similar now to the rest of the globe. So we'll keep an eye on it. Peter says that is why they won't make a move on Taiwan with their economy on edge. I agree with that 100%. 3T3 says I'm in West Central Florida in Clearwater. It's okay, rainy for the next 3 days. Yeah, I was gonna take a quick trip back to South Florida, but I decided not to, so maybe next week. Yeah, Harry says new president in Argentina, and that's very positive. I think a lot of people are underestimating just how positive that is, because it only takes one example in the region, and this is 15 Central Park West, by the way. It only takes one example in that region to flip a switch, to say, hey, maybe this capitalism thing does work. Maybe this free market thing does work. And that's very positive, particularly, I mean, speaking of Miami, that'd be very positive for Miami. Miami is the gateway to Latin America. I'm still very bullish on South Florida, particularly the Miami-Dade County, Fort Lauderdale area. I'll tell you a quick story and a little bit of anecdotal data. So this is an anecdote. I was talking to one of my tenants, and he's a junior at Georgia Tech. Smart guy, good guy, young guy. And he was telling me that, well, he's renting my place for 2 months, right? I think he's actually moving out in a week here. But the reason why I needed my place is because he has an internship with Blackstone as a summer analyst. And I'm thinking to myself, usually, right, not to say it never happens in South Florida, it never happens in Miami, but the vast majority of summer analyst positions at the big private equity firms, the big investment banks, take place in New York City, Chicago, and even San Francisco, right? I would say those are the big three for finance, right? You do these summer analyst rotational programs at the big investment banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase. On the private equity side of the house, you have obviously Blackstone, you have many others. And I asked how big his class was, and he says it's over 50. So 50 interns in South Florida, and he was telling me that they're making a real big bet to try to expand operations down there. So I think we need to follow the money. I don't think New York is I don't abide by that narrative that, New York is going under. It's still the place to be. If you want a career in finance, particularly investment banking, private equity, venture capital, New York City is still the place to do that, to start your career by far. But South Florida, particularly Miami, is going to catch up. And the key, and here's the main key, it's the wages, okay? By far, and this is not up for dispute, New York City has the highest wages for investment banking and private equity. But South Florida and Miami is fast approaching. It's not there yet. I think it's going to get there. And when that happens, there's going to be some real competition because it's a lifestyle choice. And there's also no state income taxes. And that really matters if you're knocking down, $500,000-600,000 a year. Having no state income tax really makes a difference. So I think you'll see Florida, particularly South Florida, as the satellite location in New York, starting with a lot of the partners and the managing directors, and then you'll kind of see more of the young guys and girls head down, and that's going to be very, very positive for the South Florida economy. It's going to be really good. So I just thought I'd share that little anecdote. Here we are at Jazz at Lincoln Center, although Lincoln Center is a few blocks north. Phillips says Florida is also looking at getting rid of property tax. Really? Speaking of property tax, I have to write a check. Well, it obviously comes out of the escrow account, but I got my property tax bill, I think almost $8,000, $8,000 for my property taxes. Which to many of you, you would say, that is crazy, that's wild, which it is. I mean, $8,000 a year just to live. That is wild. But I will say this, a comparable property that I was looking at buying on Long Island, that tax bill comes with like a 13.5 tax bill. So even though $8,000 is a lot, if you're a New Yorker, and more specifically a Long Islander, and you're used to, $13,000, depending on the property on Long Island and also depending on where you are, you can see tax bills of $13,000 to $30,000 in that range for and these aren't like crazy properties, these are normal properties. So $8,000 is not too bad, but it is quite wild. Peter says I just got mine and it's $1,900 for 3,500 square feet. Oh my God. That's like nothing. That's so cheap. That's incredible. Now, someone says, do I homestead? I do not homestead, which I would get a tax break if I had the homestead exemption. I don't, because I spend the majority of my time in New York and I play things by the book. I'm not a tax cheat. Jimmy B says Bergen County, New Jersey, 12,000 to 25K is nuts. Yeah, that is nuts. I think New Jersey, parts of New Jersey have higher property taxes than Long Island, I believe. Although there are trade-offs, right? It's not just to talk negatively about the taxes. I do like to be fair. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country. So the education system is great. And you could say the same thing about Long Island. Public schools, obviously depending on the municipality, there's some of the best public schools in the nation are out east on Long Island. So, alright, I think I can close this umbrella. Give me a second. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. Marvin says greetings from the Philippines, watching you while in church Sunday morning. Wow. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you. Someone says thoughts on Mercado Libre. I think they just reported earnings and they crushed it, I believe. Didn't they report earnings last week? Let's see, let me Google that. Patient Lobsters, the tax I pay in Israel is about 44% of my income. Well, you're probably in a really top tick tax bracket, which, thank God, good for you. I'd like to visit Israel. I think that's one of the places where I really want to go. Alexander says Texas property tax is also high. $10,000 is the average. The state is currently subsidizing the school portion for an additional year. That's a really good point. Who said that? Alexander. Many people who have moved to the state of Texas to save on taxes, which obviously Texas is one of those states that doesn't have any state income tax, but they get you on the property tax if you own. JU says, could you please not cross where there's a red light? I saw you cross red lights. You don't want to get struck by a car. Yeah, I think I'll continue to do whatever I want. I think I'll continue to do whatever the hell I want, for sure. DC322 says, I remember this building being vacant a year ago. Which building are you talking about? This one, this is a design museum, which if you go all the way to the top, there's a really nice restaurant up there, and it has crazy views of Columbus Circle. Really, really nice views. I have never eaten up there. I'm just trolling, by the way. Just trolling. All right, let's go ahead and head down. Tommy guys says, what do you think the food prices are to eat there at that restaurant? I honestly couldn't tell you, but I will give you a tip. If you're in Columbus Circle and you want to eat somewhere with a very good view, if you go inside the Deutsche Bank towers, okay, walk past the Whole Foods, take the escalator up 2 flights, and there's a really nice cafe that overlooks all of Central Park and Columbus Circle, and it's pretty cheap too. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You can even just sit down and get a coffee or a tea, spend like $10, and you could eat and enjoy the view of Central Park. It's a pretty cool place. Now this is 57th Street, New York City's Billionaires Row. You see 432 Park in the distance. You also see the Nordstrom building, which is 217 West 57th Street, Central Park Tower. And what's it called? There was just a $100 million sale there. Now there's been 2 sales in New York City over $100 million. One of which being right here at 217 West 57th Street. Again, Central Park Tower. This was developed by Gary Burnett, who owns Extel. And the other one was inside the Crown Building, or the Amman New York Residences. And the original owner of that hotel chain bought it back for, I think, $135 million, which is crazy. Now, the person who built this building, Central Park Tower, also did this one, 157 West 57th Street, who really coined Billionaires Row, Extel. If you're looking for a really nice hotel to stay in my opinion, one of the best hotels in New York City, try the Park Hyatt New York. It's inside 157. So you can kind of kill 2 birds in one stone. You could stay at a really nice place, but you could also experience what it's like to live on Billionaires Row in New York City. Here's the main entrance to Central Park Tower here. Hey, Mark is here, says good morning from Perth, Australia. Says having breakfast while watching the stream. What's up, Mark? I think now that I have my passport, that's one of the places on my list to go, for sure. Roy says nothing but problems over here in the UK, and the heat definitely doesn't help. let's head down. Trish, what's going on? This is the Brooklyn Diner. Let's get back on the main drag here and make a right. But just a quick reminder for those of you who are just joining. On Thursday afternoon, I did send out our free investing newsletter called Behind the Street. So check your email and make sure it didn't go to spam or something like that. And if you want to sign up to receive all of our free equity research every other Thursday, right at the market close, you can scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, and it'll take you to our Behind the Street newsletter. Just as a quick reminder, we're going to head right past Barclays Investment Bank, which used to be the old Lehman Brothers, and depending on how crowded Times Square is, maybe we'll go all the way through there. Jack, good to see you. I wonder what they're going to do with this Wellington Hotel. Hey, Evelyn's. In high school, we'd walk from Lincoln Center to Penn Station, no problem. I used to do the same thing. I didn't walk from Lincoln Center. I used to walk from John Jay College, which is pretty much the similar distance. And I would go to Penn Station. This was, oh my God, way before the Hudson Yards. So I'm sure you remember way back in the day, there was that drive-through McDonald's on 10th Avenue. This was before, Related even were thinking about, building all this stuff in Hudson Yards. And it was just the West Side Yard for the Long Island Railroad. It was just a bunch of auto body shops, mechanic shops, and that lone drive-through McDonald's. And I would go there sometimes before class. Remember that? Okay, so you went to LaGuardia High School. It's like a few blocks away from each other. Nice. This is the Sheridan, New York. Maybe we'll take a walk down 6th and a Half Avenue. This is a cool shot looking all the way down into Times Square. Mariana, Texas is where would I live if I retired this year? I don't know if I want to retire. I think I want to work until I croak out, which hopefully is a long time, or at least a little bit longer than now. Just because I wouldn't know what to do with my time if I just did nothing all day. But if I had to live somewhere, it'd probably be New York and Miami, maybe the same. Split my time 50-50 between New York and South Florida, Miami. Maybe I'd venture into Palm Beach. Although Palm Beach is a little bit too buttoned up for me, I think. I don't know, what about you? I think my personality fits well with New York because I can't sit still. I got to be doing something all the time. And New York City, there's always something going on. This is Steinway Tower. Melissa 2087, what's up? All right, here we are, 6th and Half Ave. Let's go ahead and check it out. I think you guys will like this. It's beautiful in here. Is this really nice in here? The chandeliers are really pretty. Jack's is, Palm Beach is more posh, like the Hamptons. I think I agree, and I don't really, it's not to say I don't like the Hamptons, it's just, I don't know. I don't like being too stuffy like that. If I'm making sense. I think some people need to just get over themselves a little bit. And I used to have cousins that lived in Watermill, so I spent a fair time in the Hamptons. But people are people, no matter how much money you got. Some people are just too full of themselves, I think. That's how I feel when I'm in the Hamptons. What do you guys think of 6th and Half Ave? This is a good shot of 53 West 53rd Street. Let's check out the new roundabout at the Hilton. DJ says you haven't seen money unless you've been walking in Bel Air. I'd like to travel more for sure. I really want to get out to San Diego. I think that's very, very high on my bucket list. San Diego, California, LA. So this Hilton, they completely remodeled on the inside during the pandemic, and it actually looks really good. I think they did a really good job. Sabrina says San Diego is a great place to grow up. So I hear. I hear a lot of good things about San Diego. Anywhere the weather's great and it has a good ocean, I'm in. I think I'd like California. Hey, Dino Kid says you're staying at the Hilton right now. Well, what do you like? Give us a review in the chat. Jamie says San Diego is my hometown. Any recommendations? I'm probably going to visit San Diego by the end of the year. I've heard a lot of good things about it. My friend, for a very, very short time, he's in the military. He's what you call a TAC P. I'm not sure if we have any military people in the chat. But a TAC P, it's like a special forces division of the Air Force. I think they're like paratroopers that call in like different airstrikes and things like that. And he was training with another special forces segment in San Diego for I think 2 months, and he said it was awesome. He said he loved San Diego, California. This is the restaurant at 53 West 53rd Street. The restaurant's called 53.
It was like the Java later. It was a good, but I was like, I know what Java. Yeah. It looked like a
Samantha Smith says, anyone been to Chicago is worth seeing? I haven't been, but there's a big finance community in Chicago that's now migrating to New York and South Florida. One of my good buddies / hedge fund manager friends is from Chicago. And I'm trying to convince him to move here to New York or Miami. Work in progress. Jack says Laguna Beach is my favorite coastal town in SoCal. Is that Laguna Beach? Is that where they have all those big workout facilities on the beach there? Now, the thing that's great about California is in the same exact state. You don't have to leave the state, and you could have beautiful weather, quite literally some of the best weather in the United States, right? 75 degrees, sunny every single day. And then you could go skiing and do all this snow activity too in the same exact state. So there's so much for the state of California to offer, similarly to New York. You know, if you want to live in a very, very rural environment, a lot of people who are non-New Yorkers don't really know this. New York is one of the perfect states for that. If you travel to upstate New York, there's a lot of agriculture, a lot of farms, a lot of wineries, vineyards. There's a huge dairy industry in New York. And skiing. But you could also be in the greatest city on the face of the earth, right here. You know, all within 45 minutes flying. You could be in Syracuse, you could be in Buffalo, you could be all the way up by Canada. 45 minutes. It's great. There's so much that the state of New York has to offer. And if you want good beaches, you could head out to Long Island. Richard says you could surf in the morning and then ski in the afternoon in California. See, that's another reason why just in general the United States of America is by far the greatest country on earth. Right? We could talk about all of the, free market capitalism, our, economy, all of the different innovation that happens here. But let's just talk about the geography for a minute and what advantages that has. Because a lot of people don't think about it. And that is probably one of the main drivers of immigration, right? If you are someone that's looking to start a career and start a family, and the choice is between Canada, the United States, and let's just say, pick a country in Europe, right? For travel purposes, if you're living in America, on any day of the week, right? If you want to take a vacation, you could be in the beautiful tropics of the Florida Keys. You could have great skiing. You could be in some of the greatest cities on earth. LA, New York, San Francisco, Miami. It's just there's every single climate imaginable, and you never have to leave the country. That's so underrated. You have the tropics, you can have the extreme cold, everything that you need, the United States has it. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable place. I mean, I love Canada, but, you have to suffer through those winters. It's terrible. Hey, JK is here, NBA Elias. Welcome. Someone says if you're international and have a trust fund in New York City, it's great. I think if you're anyone and have a trust fund in New York City, it's great. Not just an international. Having a trust fund, period, probably living great. I don't see how that applies to the conversation, but agreed. This is one of my favorite shots of the city. Looking down 6th Avenue at Radio City Music Hall with these 3 American flags here. Beautiful. I think I can close the umbrella now again. Let's make this left. We might as well check out Radio City Music Hall, or not Radio City Music Hall, Rockefeller Center, and see if they still have the Olympic stuff up. NBA Elias, greetings to you. We were just talking about, a little bit earlier, we were talking about Berkshire and how they've sold about 80 or about 60% of their Apple holdings, but I think for context, they acquired that position when the valuation of Apple was around $350 to $400 billion. So an exit of nearly $3 trillion in market cap is an earth-shaking trade. Unbelievable trade. Yeah, the Papa Smurfs, since my brothers are responding to a call. The OG, what would you say is the majority of the calls you get? Right, so when we walk through the city and we see, the FDNY like this, like what do you think they're responding to? Is it like a gas leak or something? What do you think the majority of those calls are? Because Because I don't really see fires. They just must be for like gas leaks. Tommy guys' health issues, perhaps. But for a health issue, they wouldn't send a fire truck, would they? They would send the EMTs. Vehicle crash. All right. Jeff Perez's Intel dropped 26%. Intel's a failing company, horrible company. Troy Adams says, if I could have dinner with any CEO, who would it be? Probably Benioff. I really like Mark Benioff.
Started right over there, went through Paris. You know, because of the Olympics, the Tour de France finish wasn't in Paris. Well, today, the Parisians got their cycling fix. Look at the fans. We'll show you what happened in the race when we come back.
This is cool.
Toyota presents the power of community. Swimming may be an individual sport, but to get faster in the pool, having a strong group around you can pay dividends. From local pools to major colleges, swim teams feed on strong leadership and shared work. Together, it's a potent mix.
Jake Douglas is going to win the Olympic gold.
See the Eiffel Tower. G Hope says you haven't watched a single minute of the Olympics. I haven't watched a single minute of the Olympics live. I've seen some of the highlights of like the basketball and the soccer, but that's really about it. There's going to be a hotel that's going to come in here. Some very expensive hotel chain from Aspen, Colorado, I believe is going to go right in here. Because this was an office building that was totally vacant. So Rockefeller is trying to reinvent themselves, to do everything they can to try to attract more people. And since office has really fallen out of fashion, there's going to be a hotel that's going to come right in here. I'm actually curious of the name. Let me Google the name. Aspen Hospitality Group. Aspen Hospitality to open luxury hotel in Rockefeller Center. It's going to be a 130-room property, is expected to debut in 2026 across 10 floors at the 16-story 10 Rockefeller Plaza. Yeah, right here. That's going to be awesome. We have to wait until 2026, but I guess better late than never. Very good play because this was 100% vacant. Could you imagine this hotel, or staying at this hotel during Christmas time? You have a direct view of the Christmas tree. That would be insane. So in theory, you could rent a room or book your stay during the Christmas tree lighting ceremony and just hang out on your window and watch the whole thing. That's cool. Hey, before you know it, we're going to be doing our walking tours around Rockefeller Center, and the Christmas tree is going to be right here. It's already August. Marketing videography. So speaking of real estate deals, there may be a big deal on a huge building on 34th Street that's going to take up the entire block. I heard something like that. You know, 34th Street, in between 5th Avenue and 7th, right? Obviously you have the Empire State Building, but then from Herald Square over, that huge section, it's kind of like that big strip mall. It's too dated, it's too old, and it's too nasty. So I agree. Right across the street from Macy's, if they could totally knock that down and redevelop it and make it kind of like the shops at the Hudson Yards, that would be fantastic. It's a little bit too run down and ratty. Samantha says Christmas is practically here. Well, you know what else is crazy? There's less than 100 days until the presidential election. Now, you know what I was thinking about, everyone? In Times Square, maybe we'll do an election live stream, because most of the billboards in Times Square show like the election maps. I think it'll be cool just to leave my phone on a rig and beam it at the election maps in Times Square. I think that'd be cool. I may do that, depending on how crazy things are. But that'd be kind of awesome to watch it in real time in Times Square. Wow, look at this. Check out the line for Adele's. Samantha says politics sucks, but yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, and not to be, we're not going to give like commentary, it's just to kind of chill. Whether if you're a Trump guy or a Kamala Harris, it doesn't matter to me. Look at that Cybertruck. Man, it's just so apparent how huge those Cybertrucks are in relation to every other vehicle. Look at that. I think they're in line to get Adele's. Samantha says there's a line for Adele or a line for Adele's. Yeah, everyone's waiting in line to see Michael Dell. He's doing a book signing at Adele's Famous. All right, we'll try our bid at Times Square. internet's a little spotty around the News Corporation building. This is Del Frisco's. If you could eat at Del Frisco's, try to eat at the second level here because you have an incredible view overlooking Radio City Music Hall. Jamie says Trump gave his 2016 victory speech at that Hilton Hotel. Did he really? I can't even remember it. It's such a blur. I don't even remember the 2016 election. I don't even remember what I was doing. What was I doing at the 2016 election? I think I must have been working or something. I think I was still in school. I was. I know that for a fact. I was still in school. And I think I went to like a watch party for the other election. And I had Prince Street Pizza, which was pretty fun. Here's the Hard Rock. Oh no way, Jamie says I spent the whole day and night at the Jacob Javits Center waiting for Hillary Clinton to give her speech. Oh my God, so this is kind of coming back to me now. I remember that. That was where the Clinton campaign was. You're right, 34th Street, Jacob Javits Center. I'm kind of remembering this now. 2016 seems like such a long time ago. I mean, it was, but it seems like an eternity ago, 2016. Anyone ever stay at this Hard Rock here? West 48th Street. Look at all these hotels you have. You have the Hampton Inn, Home 2 Suites by Hilton. Or maybe this is all one. No, I think they're individual hotels. But the Hard Rock kind of looks new. The lobby kind of looks nice. Max has stayed there, pretty good location. How are the rooms? Is it modern? I mean, it looks new. Speaking of hotels, look at this. 711 7 Hotel Associates. This building is going to be another big hotel. I wonder if it'll have any good views of One Times Square so you could watch the ball drop. Traffic. Now, I was reading a pretty good opinion piece today. I forget which paper it was in, but it was someone that was saying that we should close down 7th Avenue from West 48th Street to 42nd Street. So this could all be a major pedestrian, like outdoor park and a walkway. I think I agree with that. I mean, imagine how awesome Times Square would be if there was no vehicle traffic and it was only to pedestrians. Here you can see that hotel being built. Because this is just too big of a traffic jam. Too big, it's just too much. It'll probably never happen, but the LT prod. Said it's amazing how the sleds and NLB, etc. got off easy for backing FTX. Well, stay tuned. That's all I'll say about that. Stay tuned. Now, I'm not saying I want anything to happen or not. All I'm saying is I don't think anyone who promoted those cryptocurrency scams is going to get off easy. I just have a feeling. Gary Gensler is not about it. Well, I think Times Square is way too crowded tonight. I don't think we'll be able to go all the way down through there. Just too many people. So we'll head up and around. And then we'll make a left. And maybe we'll go through Hell's Kitchen as opposed to Times Square. NBA lies. Tom, I would assume the businesses would be opposed to the street closures. I don't think they would be opposed to it. If there was no vehicle traffic like this in Times Square, I think I would actually be more likely to frequent Times Square. I think that's one of the things that makes Times Square so chaotic, is the traffic. But I don't know, you would need to study how that would impact like traffic trends in the city. You just need to look into that, but what is funny? When you see a lot of these drivers in Times Square, like looking disgruntled and honking the horn, like they're surprised that there's traffic in Times Square on a Saturday in the summer. I don't think that's something that should like surprise you. So when you drive your car and ram it through the middle of Times Square on a summer in August, I don't think that should like surprise you. Hey, what's up? What were you saying? Did you say something?
Yeah, I said fuck you.
Oh, okay, got it. I just want to make sure. What'd you say?
Did you get on stream of how much of an asshole you are?
I did. Did you get on stream how much of an asshole you are?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you keep walking? How about that? Go ahead, go.
Why don't you come back for me?
Why don't you keep walking? Go ahead.
No.
Go. Okay, good. Sit there and eat your food. We'll go up one more and then we'll make a left. And maybe we'll check out the Torch building by Extel. I think this used to be a big church, or still is. But if you look at some of the renderings online, if you just type in Extel Torch, it's kind of a strange building. I'm not too sure if it's going to really mesh with the skyline in New York City. We'll see. I actually may have a photo of it in my camera roll. Hey, what's up, Mario?
Let me see what I can do.
We'll cross over one more so you can see the construction site. Yeah, JK. Man, most times I let it slide, but if it's a punk kid from Ohio, nah. I'll check him for a little bit. Also see the Nomura Investment Bank. What's up, Tug Carter? Thanks for joining. always a pleasure to see you. This is now 50th Street and 8th Avenue. And maybe we'll even walk over another one and go through Hell's Kitchen. This is Worldwide Plaza. We haven't been in here in a long time. I'll quickly show you the directory. It's a really, really unique building. Oh, yikes. What's going on over here? Oh, yikes. I think the, what is it, the pedicab guy? I think may have nicked him accidentally while driving or something. There used to be a good ramen place here. Now, the thing is, I think it was called Me Ramen, M-E-E. And then when they did the renovation on it, the quality of the food went down so much. That's what happened. I think they, what's it called? Are they called pedicabs, rickshaws? I don't know. I think the guy accidentally nicked the windshield or the mirror of the other guy. Maybe scratched his car. I think I would just accept the loss at that point. It's not like those pedicab guys have insurance. This is Engine 54, Ladder 4, Battalion 9. Look at this little, I think it's a Chihuahua.
I love him to death.
So here it is, we made it. So right on the corner of West 46th Street, this is the construction site of Extel's new torch. This is going to be mostly a hotel, but there's also going to be a drop ride attraction on the top. I think it may fit. I think it may work. It's going to be right in this lot in the corner. This is New York City's Restaurant Row. I always like looking at these three holdout buildings. Samantha says, have I ever seen anything bad happen in New York City? Define bad. What would be an example of something that's bad? You know, maybe we'll make a right here. We haven't been to Hell's Kitchen in a long time.
If they hit us, they looks like maybe a blow dry.
We'll see what's going on at this theater.
Is it on or left or right?
I think we may need to cross over. I think they have the street blocked off because somebody's coming out. We'll have to go on the other side of the sidewalk.
Like, when would they get out then?
Okay, go there. All right, so we go right.
Yeah, what a quiet block, just off of Times Square. Tracks 101. There are some NYPD, I should say like undercover vehicles that look like taxis, but I think that one was just like an airport taxi. Like that'll take you to JFK for a flat fee. But I've also seen NYPD cruisers that are painted exactly, pretty much exactly like a yellow cab. And we are officially in Hell's Kitchen. This is 9th Avenue. There's a lot of places to eat. Lots of bars. Lots of bodegas too.
I visited UCSC and they're like, please look at the library.
I don't really spend too much time in Hell's Kitchen anymore. I used to spend a lot of time here when I went to school a little bit further up. It's changed a lot. There's a lot of new places that I really don't recognize. Let's cross over one more. MB Elias's favorite place in Hell's Kitchen. I would have to say, and it's not like the best food, but it's right over here at Becco. It's like an Italian spot. It's a fun place to go to, and they give you a lot of large portions. Like you can get unlimited pasta. There's 3 specific types of pasta, and they walk around and they give it to you unlimitedly. So that's a good spot. There's also a good Greek restaurant that, I forget what street it's on, but it's very good if you like Greek food. Let me think. Yeah, I'd say Becco in that place, but I just can't think of the name. Those are two good places. I actually need to get something to eat too. I didn't realize we've almost been streaming for 2 hours. I was gonna make it an hour-long stream tonight. But we got carried away. Turkish cuisine is very good. You know, when I was in, I'm trying to think of the neighborhood I was in. Jackson Heights. There's a very, very good Turkish place in Jackson Heights. It's like a lot of kebab stuff. I really like it. Very good. I don't need Turkish food as much as I think I probably want to. There's just not a lot of there's not a lot of Turkish places where I hang out. But you're right, Turkish food is really good. Really, really good. I'd say it's up there with top 5 for sure. I'd say Italian food, definitely in the top 5. Korean food, definitely in the top 5. Turkish food is up there, for sure. Oh, speaking of, wow. And it looks like it's still open, and I didn't eat dinner yet. So maybe I will go here right now. Anyway, well, thank you everybody for joining tonight's live stream. through New York City, ending in Hell's Kitchen. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we will be back live tomorrow night to do the Markets Outlook stream. Once again, if you want to read all of our equity research for free, scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and you can have access to all of our equity research for free. We send it out every other Thursday. So Chris B, appreciate it. MBA Elias, the LT Prod, Mark, Volcano Joe, Sarah, Steven, JK, New England Crypto, Tommy Guy, Mark Summers, Joe Driver, Ivan, DM. We will see you guys right back here live tomorrow. Take care, enjoy the weekend. See you soon.